to say it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here. If you haven't been to IPI before, you are very welcome here.
Welcome to this conversation, an informal and unassuming conversation. And the theme is of leadership and courage in international affairs.
So now we are at this moment where the multilateral system, as we have known it, is becoming, I would not say fast irrelevant, but we have to salvage whatever has been working for humanity and see how we can use the current scenario to see a more balanced world, and of course where we'll see more inclusion, because so far many parts of the world have been excluded from the rising tide of prosperity.
So are we truly ready to go beyond symbolic participation and transfer real decision-making power to those most affected by conflict and humanitarian crisis? I personally believe strongly that the United Nations is indispensable. The flaws and the mistakes are not due to the concepts and ideals, but mostly to the betrayals of its most powerful member states.
This battle, despite all of its limitation and weakness, the United Nations system is one of the last IR, international relation fronts, that is fighting to uphold peace, diplomacy, and non-violence in the world. That every voice counts, every action counts. So challenging the narrative and discourse, as Moudjib mentioned, to speak up against the normalization of violence in your neighborhood, in your organization, in your family.
A source of concern is the rising trend of evoking national security considerations to justify human rights restrictions. It is the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, of course, and indeed it is a crossroad for the international system. Leadership is not about making people feel small or oppressing them. Leadership is about empowering people, and without strong human rights, people cannot be empowered.
The communities that have been discussed today, Palestine, Sudan, Myanmar as well, these are communities that practice this kind of courage. Every single one of these communities would give all of their support to the survival of each other, because each of these communities cares and supports about the mutual survival of each other member. They know that survival in the face of external threats is never individual. And the question is whether institutions and international agencies and civil society can learn that same lesson.
And the justice and link it with a weak institution, sorry to say it like this, when you see that even the Secretary General of the United Nations is not allowed to visit a country or a place because Israel prevent him to do so, or when you see that the general prosecutor of ICC also have a bigger trouble to visit Gaza. So we have a problem talking about UNRWA. The same, we decided just last week to create a global network for lawyers for Palestine that is supporting initiatives of resistance and solidarity, such as humanitarian flotilla. Today we're talking about this flotilla, about this more than 50 boats from 40 or 45 nationalities.
Leadership, UN leadership, how to transform the UN. I am really seized by the issue of decolonization, and not only decolonizing of humanitarian, which I appreciate, or human rights, but also decolonizing development, decolonizing peace building, decolonizing how we handle political affairs, and mostly decolonizing our minds and our mindsets. Practices in the aid system mirror colonial structures in many ways. Direction of flow of funding. Practices as if the global north always knows better. Staffing, how internationals are in decision making and locals are implementers. Even language like capacity building, which implies local people don't have capacity.
In Gaza in particular, when I identified rather openly how many of our own colleagues, Palestinians, so I think we are about 380 local staff, UN officials killed in Gaza. But I don't hear the voices of us colleagues about them. they happen to be brown, like me. I'm touching on your point. And they happen to be local staff. Can you imagine if a member state came here, you and New York, and killed 1%, killed 4, let's say, Caucasian Americans, or in Geneva? I don't think we would be that quiet.
Is that we have not found a mechanism to make member states' behavior more costly. And that is a big issue. So
Another former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Ms. Navi Pillay, recently was part of this independent commission, and they just said again that what is going on in the Palestine occupied territories is genocide. I was not shy to use the word genocide. And I also had the International Court of Justice, who last year talked about plausible genocide. But then today's talk is about courage and leadership. But I still see so many of my colleagues in different spheres, for whatever reason, are being quiet and don't want to use that word. I'm not sure what it takes. Of course, we are saddened by the killing of babies, boys and girls in many conflicts across the globe. But I thought, like a few of you mentioned, we are in very dangerous times where we are seeing live. We have the excuse, I think, for the Holocaust, what was unacceptable done to the Jewish people, because people said, oh, we did not know. But now I think it's a bit difficult to say that you don't know with the age of, even yesterday I saw some live pictures of the global Sumud flotilla where you saw some of the attacks of the drones.
As you say, it is still work in progress. It will be work in progress for a very long time, because the various actors who are involved in this, they are not keen to play ball. So we just have to keep on the conversation and hope that whatever action we do, we add to the advancement for a better world. That's all we can say. And we, of course, have a special prayer for all the people who are suffering, be it through genocide, be it through war. And here, of course, we've mentioned Gaza. We know in the same things happen in Ukraine, in Sudan, and all the places where conflicts are happening and where we should be able to get institutions to bring them to bear to make sure that peace prevails. Thank you.
Merci, Excellence. Thank you, everybody online.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you for your time and thank you for participating. Bye-bye.
Thank you.